Everything about tonight's meeting is at the table, or you can go to rockridgepublicschools.org and get it there. At this time, I would ask everybody to please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let the record reflect that we have all board members are present. This time, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Are we going to have any additions to it,
I would.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, we would have, I have asked John to find a spot on the agenda for the paper that I handed out requesting the flagpole at the Evelyn School.
He said 8.1, I thought. I got good hearing.
Let's add it to 6.4.
6.4?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, John.
And I'll make a motion to approve as amended.
Okay. Got a motion?
Support.
Motion by Yuhan, support by Reardon. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. At this point, we have any visitor input? Matt Schoberg wants to speak on boys golf. So, come up, Mr. Schoberg.
I got the timer.
You got the timer?
Yes. I know how that goes. Well, thanks for the opportunity and good to be back. But I'd just like to say a couple of words on item 5.3 on the agenda. About the coaching situation, specifically for boys golf. I'm the boys golf coach here. And just to give you some idea, and I do understand how tough budget cuts are, how painful they are from a previous life. But as far as just some idea on our boys golf program, last year we had 52 athletes in the program. We hosted 8 golf meets from the junior high developmental level to several high school invitationals. One of the things about golf is that we have to transport, for the most part, we do the vast majority of transporting the own players. So if one coach is at a golf meet, then no one else can be there for practice. You hear, well, get a volunteer. Volunteers can't drive. So it's really limited as far as what volunteers can do. The meets that we hosted, we had a total of just under 500 players from Rockridge and from other schools. And I just wanted to say that would be awful difficult to be able to do justice to the program with 2 paid coaches. I know you're probably hearing from a lot of folks about the same issue, but we just respectfully ask that you'd reconsider that, and I see it's on item 5.3 on the agenda.
Thank you. Thanks, Matt.
Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak? Okay, with none being had, we'll move on to item 4, consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move.
Moved by Corbett.
Support.
Support by Yuhan. Any discussion?
I'd like to pull for discussion a couple of items. 4.5,
Hang on. 4.5. Okay.
4.19,
419. Okay.
I have a general question about all the paras and about passing para pro or having 80 degrees, et cetera. I could just ask that quickly. And then 4.20, 4.21, 4.27. And 4.34.
What was the last one?
4.34.
Okay. You want to speak to them now, Polly?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay, go ahead on 4.5.
Okay, that is our 0.64 FTE elementary music position that we are either bringing back or whatever. I was curious as to elementary music, did you have an assignment for that 0.64 at this point in time? What would that person be doing?
This person will be primarily in the elementary schools and all in the elementary schools, teaching music. And this person will most likely probably be split between several buildings. And the principals are still working on a schedule, but I believe they finalized it. But it's going to be entirely in the elementary school.
And would that be giving lessons or in what capacity?
I think it'll be general music. Could be vocal. It's going to be general music, elementary music.
Would that include lessons though?
It might, yes.
So we don't know.
Well, no, because they're trying to work it in to do lessons, but lessons is not as easy to work in because the kid has to leave a class. And then in which subject are they doing the lessons from? Because the principals first need to have the whole classrooms covered. And they are telling me with this, they will be able to do that.
So we don't know if this particular person will be doing instrumental lessons, but have we assigned anybody else in this music department to do lessons?
Julie is doing instrumental.
And is that elementary?
Yep.
Okay, we won't know if we need more than that, huh? Is that Julie's full assignment then, elementary, just like this person, elementary music?
That's where the heaviest part is. So she could go up to the high school, but it's going to be a combination of those two, I believe.
Okay, and
But
some,
mostly elementary, because the high school band numbers are lighter.
okay, and some of that is maybe lessons.
Yep,
Okay.
Angie was trying to work very hard to have some of that be lessons.
Okay,
419.
let's see. The para for Rockridge High School / ALP. Are we going to have that ALP program actually running this year?
Absolutely.
Okay, we're hitting the ground running.
Yep, hit the ground running. We have teachers over there, and so this is going to start right away from day one. It's there. And I believe it will start smaller and then slowly it'll fill up with students.
Okay, and then, if I missed it or I just don't remember, how many employees do we have designated to the
There are
ALP?
3 teachers.
3 teachers
Three
and 1
teachers.
parent?
Well, the pair is going back and forth between the two. So it could be in the high school too and in the ALP.
Okay.
And one of the teachers, I said 3, one of the teachers could be going back and forth to the high school also. Part of this, it depends upon the numbers of kids we get for the ALP.
Okay, when will we know that? I suppose not until,
It almost, no matter where you go, the numbers start smaller anywhere, and then they usually build to the middle of the year. Towards the 3/4 year, then they're usually at the high point.
okay? And then as long as we're talking about paras, I'll just ask my general question. I might know the answer, but some of these paras, there's about 12 of them.
Polly, you're talking in regards to 420 and 421?
No,
and
419, as long as I was
Okay.
talking about this person as a
Right.
para. So some of them you have that we just want to hire them. Others have to pass the para-pro within 3 months. There's 2 or 3 of those. And then the other criteria for them must have a AAAS, 68 plus college credits, para-pro within 3 months. Does that mean that some of these, the ones that don't have any of these conditions, that they are already totally qualified? Okay.
They already meet the criteria. So there's another way, if you don't have the degree, you can take the test and pass and still be a para.
So then what's the difference between must pass para-pro and then must have either the AA or 60 college credits versus passing the para-pro?
Because somebody could be really close to getting their degree, but we just don't have the paperwork for it. So we're waiting for it to come in, the final transcripts to come in. That's almost always what that one means.
So that kind of hints or designates that those people might qualify under that criteria.
Right, we
versus
believe
just
they
para.
will, we just don't have the official transcript yet.
Okay. And what was the other one that says licensure, pending licensure? I know this one,
Are you still on 419?
well, now I am pending background check, but there's another one about pending a licensure. It's hard for me to find. Does that mean that it just hasn't been processed through the system?
If you see that in your board minutes, that's almost always what that means. Someone has applied, we have a way to check to see whether that person really has applied, but it's just being processed, but they're just inundated with the apps right now. So we believe it's coming. So that's why we'll say things like, it's contingent upon us getting the final licensure. And we believe it's gonna come.
Okay, I just can't find it right now. Okay, 4.20, the para student supervisor position. I think you and I had a conversation and you said that it was a new job description that came through AFSCME
Yep.
and through this last contract. So, have we, let's see, did we have this position last year, a para student supervisor?
Yep, you did. You had it in all your buildings. And when we were negotiating with AFSCME, the school board reps negotiated this with AFSCME. We negotiated a job description. You negotiated a monetary per hour salary for it. And so this, when you see it here, that means that this person has said they want the job, principal interviewed them, and this is the one they're recommending for that job. But it's been here for a while, yep.
Do you know what building this person's going to be in?
They're in all of the buildings. This particular one, as I'm sitting here, no, I don't.
So
I can find that out though and let you know.
that's Randy's question. So, this person, so if we had 4 of them last year, 1 in each building, and so did we, we don't have 4 of them for this year, and this is a new hire, or we have a need for 1, we have 3, but we need a 4th, or what?
What it means most likely is somebody left the position.
That's
And
what I'm
so
asking.
then the principals are looking for someone to take the place of that individual.
Okay, so this is not an
This is not a
addition,
new in addition to what was last year.
not,
This is replacing somebody who was in that position last year.
okay, good.
421?
Yeah, is the 0.6 FTE for medical careers, is that a new course this year, or is that replacing something we already had with somebody?
It's not. It's actually an excellent job or an excellent example of the High School Career Academy and partnering with the local colleges. We had this course last year. We had a section of kids who took it. This is the CNA course. And this year we have, last conversation I had with Mark Winter, who is in the audience, if we need more information on this. He said they had 40 kids signed up for this course. A lot of kids want to do it and take the CNA, but we don't have anybody on staff who can teach that. So we've talked to the college and they have someone, they're willing to share her, so to speak. So we're kind of working at, that's what this is. It's actually a great example of working with our local colleges and trying to get courses for the kids that are practical and make sense and actually can help them earn some money while they're still in high school.
And some of them actually need it for a prerequisite for programs they're going into.
Yep.
For trade school or.
So this is an additional 0.6 than, that we didn't have last year.
You had it last year.
But it's an additional 0.6?
You have more, yes, there's more FTE, yes.
That's what I'm asking, because then that's an addition to our budget, that almost $37,000.
Well, it's really not, because when we calculate the buddy, if the kids are taking this class, that means they're not taking another course. So the FTE went down in somewhere else, and this one is going up.
Okay. So we had it before, and it's not an addition, it's only because more signed up, so we need another section or something.
Yes, and this one is a little more, there's a long process we have to go through with the union to make sure that another teacher on staff doesn't have the licensure. And so this one takes a lot longer than the average typical. Yeah, but it's great for our kids.
Okay. And then 4.27, it's listed as a transfer of a para, but it's actually a reduction in hours. Can you explain that?
Yep, whenever you see something like that, it almost always means that the para is voluntarily choosing to go down in hours. So it's not because we've cut somebody, it's because for whatever reason, the para wants to work fewer hours or fewer days, but you have to approve that because it's a change in hourly wage, and we need to do this above board, transparent, so everybody knows what's going on. So that's what's happening here.
So then if we are subtracting 11 hours, and do we still have a need for those 11 hours, and we need to fill that 11 hours with somebody else?
The principals have already done that. Your principals spend hours on this. As far as where the paras, and we talk to the paras too, find out where they want to go. And it's hours and hours spent here. So what you see here, the principals spent a lot of time. So they have backfilled any spaces that they're looking for. Or they can't find someone and we're still posting for that position.
Okay. So if we need those 11 hours, they will be filled.
Correct.
But if we don't need them because of, student needs, okay, they won't be filled. Okay, and then 4.34, that's the one I have the most questions or concerns about. The leave of absence for this elementary teacher for this next year. I would maybe want to take that one separately because I would be totally in favor of making the motion and voting for the leave of absence. But in the letter, there was more conversation about using sick days and sick leave and paying sick leave. And that's a whole different situation. And I think it's an important one that we all understand what that means. And that would include some money. And we might be setting a precedent. And that might not be the intention of our contract with them. So and then I hope that comes back to the board, that part of it, the sick leave part of it. Because it's important, I think. And I have copies of pages 13 through 19. I had it printed out for the board so you can read that language.
Well, and it's here for the board. We've talked internally, we believe, now this per individual, I'm not going to go into the reasons for it, but we believe this individual has some things that they have to look and explore and go through. But we believe this individual has met the criteria. The FMLA is a different side issue, so we're simply bringing it to the board for you, because you're the only entity who can approve leaves of absences. This individual would like to use sick days. We believe that person will qualify for those. That person does need to bring us some documentation, but Director Sorkin, this is up to the full board as far as what you want to do.
Well, yeah, let's take the consent agenda and let's take that one separately. And I might have a thing or two more to say about that before we vote on that one separately. Bill?
So you want to take 434 and put it, 6.5 or something?
No, just vote on it separately.
At the end, after we do the
Okay,
rest of
Consent
it.
agenda.
All right, so with all your discussion except for 434, can we get, we have a motion by, go back a few pages. Hang on.
Motion by Director Dahl.
Yep, Culver Dahl,
Second
support by
by
you, Han.
Yep.
With all the discussion and removing 4.34 for a separate vote, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, 434.
I'll make a motion to approve 434.
I'll support.
Motion by you, Han. Support by Reardon. Any discussion?
Yeah, and the discussion was, I'd just like to note in the motion that we're only voting at this point in time on the leave of absence, that the school board has a right to grant the leave, and I'm in support of it, anything after 15 days or more. And that this will not include any decision yet on the sick leave part of it.
That wasn't my motion.
I'll move to amend your motion to,
Move sick days?
I would like to amend the motion to make it clear that the board is only voting on the leave of absence, to approve the leave of absence.
You wanna,
No,
But isn't that what we are voting on, just approving the leave of
Just the
absence?
leave, but there's.
I mean,
she wants to
the
remove the
admin
sick
team
days.
is,
It doesn't say anything like that
In the letter it does though.
I know, but it just says on our agenda, approve of leave of absence.
Okay,
That's
I
all
just
it
want to make
says.
that clear.
And it says, at the time, I will be exhausting my sick days to supplement income, so he
But
wants.
That's the letter, that's
Yeah,
what
that's the letter.
But that's not what we're approving on the consent, that's not what it says on the consent agenda.
And that's what I want to be understood, exactly.
I mean, do we determine if they get FMLA or if they can use their sick days? Is that something?
Not the FMLA, but you are the entity, we're making a recommendation, but you're the legal entity to actually make the ruling as far as whether you want the year's leave of absence or you want to let this individual use sick days on leave of absence. And if this individual disagrees with whatever decision you make, then there's a process that that individual can follow.
If I understand what you guys were talking about a little bit ago, if the documents don't come in, then what we voted on would be rescinded upon not having the documents for all of this.
Depending what you vote on, yes.
If he doesn't bring my understanding, if he doesn't bring in the proper documentation to use his sick leave or other leaves, he can't use them.
So we could,
But Polly is pulling that out for her.
right.
And was there a second on that, Bill? On Polly's?
Seconded for more discussion.
Motion, we got a motion by Polly to remove the sick days, again, support.
Would somebody second it for discussion, please?
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay, so it's seconded.
I didn't.
Okay, all right.
But the discussion then would be that there is a difference between family medical leave criteria and what we have in our contract with them about sick leave allowance on page 16. So you qualify the criteria for our sick leave allowance, and that would be paying a daily rate of pay to the person for sick leave. If they qualify for family medical leave, I'm not sure that and they might not even do that. Okay, they may not go through the process of applying for family medical. That is what, a state or a federal rule and law? We have, I think that was put in law because some employers don't have sick leave allowances, but we do. And so I'm not sure, and we need to be sure, because if we might be opening a can of worms here. Sick leave can be used for a person's illness or an illness in the family, okay? And the criteria, so if it's more than 3 days, we need to may be required by the superintendent, a doctor's note, okay? But here's the caveat here. If a person has, say, 1 day of accumulated sick leave, or the maximum is 140 days or something, 145 days, it could amount to somebody granting a leave of absence, and if a person has 145 days, and that's what they take on their leave of absence, or they take a year, and we pay for 145 days, the result of it would be that we would be paying for a leave of absence. We would be paying a salary for a leave of absence. Now, I don't think that that's the intent of either the school district or the teachers union. I don't think that they would fight it, because that'd be a pretty good deal. And then if that did happen, we may be setting a precedence, or what do they call it? You know what the term I'm looking for. Past practice. Why don't you help me out? Past practice. And so we might be stuck, and is it even fair? We might have to in the future, if somebody wants a leave of absence, and if we let them on the front end or even on the back end take their sick leave allowance, that's a lot of money that we are paying somebody to take a leave of absence. Now, just a plain leave of absence is a non-paid leave of absence. But if this sick leave is attached to the leave of absence, it just ultimately means that we are paying them for taking leave of absence.
But it can only happen with documentation, the proper documentation for them or someone else. I mean, whoever it is, they have to come with that documentation.
Yes, or it's really pretty simple. You are the entity who grants leaves of absence.
Right.
This person wants a leave of absence. You can say yes, you can say no. This individual would like to, because of the circumstances, This individual is reading the contract and saying, I believe I fit under this, that I can use my sick days from. We have looked at it and we believe that there is some justification for this person's viewpoint. So that's what the person is asking for, a year's leave of absence. And if the person makes this criteria, that's what the individual is asking for.
And are you saying the criteria is if the person applies and qualifies for family medical leave?
No, I'm talking about the language in the teacher contract.
Okay, so.
For sick leave.
Okay.
For
and
sick
so-
leave, yes.
So you're making that determination that you think this person qualifies?
I'm making a recommendation.
Recommendation. And
but
so are you?
You are the ones who make the determination.
I understand that, but I mean, do you think that, are you requiring this individual to bring forth a doctor's note? Or do you think this is enough sufficient information that you have that you're recommending?
No, we would have to ask for additional
Okay,
information
thank
from
you.
this individual.
All right.
Okay, and all I wanted to make the notice, and I keep asking, under this Article 10, Section 1, who is sick? Either the employee or a criteria or illness in the family, and that has to be met. But I want the board to revisit that at the time, because it's a contractual thing, and I think it should be a board discussion and decision, okay?
Yep, the phrase illness in the family is quite clear.
Well, it's quite broad, it's quite wide open, okay? That's part of the problem, it's quite wide open.
So we got a motion by Director Sorkin, support by Director Westby to remove the word sick days from his leave of absence. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay, so we're gonna go back to 4.3, the original as presented with sick days. We got a motion by Director Yuhan, support by Director Reardon. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Wait, no, is the motion the leave with the sick pay?
It's as presented.
You said with sick pay, but it's not presented as sick pay.
It's not.
Or sorry, sick days, excuse me.
But it's not even presented at that. The approval is the leave of
Okay,
absence.
how about, okay, you want me to go back and state it again?
If it's just the leave of absence, like Lisa says.
We got motion by Director Yuhan, support by Director Reardon to accept the leave of absence as presented by Mr. Lawrence
In his letter?
in his letter. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 6-1. All right, moving on. Is that all of them, Polly?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, reports. 5.1, update on the Northeast Service Cooperative with Mr. Paul Brinkman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I want to thank Dr. Schmidt for his invitation to be here tonight. We love coming out and talking about not just NESC, but how we work with you here at Rockbridge. That's really the heart of our work, the relationships we build, where it makes a difference. We'll talk about that a little bit. Thanks to Stacy and Mike as well for setting this up. Before I walk into the tour, I want to talk about last Friday. I had missed out on the open house at the new North Star Elementary. I'm not as close as the Culbert family. They're about a block away, but I'm another 2 blocks down. So my morning walk takes me past North Star. I've watched everything take shape. It's exciting to see it come into the community. And the night before, I had to get some work done late. And when I got home, I noticed that the fence had been taken down. I thought, great, I'll be able to walk there tomorrow. Well, the rope is up now for the grass. I'll be fine. So I walked down there Friday morning, and I'm walking past the front of the new elementary school. This guy comes up. He's dressed like me. He's got shorts on, t-shirt, cap. How you doing? So I introduced myself. He said, "You want a tour?" I said, "Great." So it's Scott Manning. So he brings me around. It's impressive. But what really got me excited was watching him. How excited he was about how that learning environment inside the building and outside the building is going to make a difference teacher to teacher, teacher to student, and student to student. And you made that happen. So I want to thank you for what you brought to the community all across Gilbert, Evelyn, Virginia, and the surrounding area, but especially North Star, my neighborhood, because I'm a little bit like everybody else. You kind of like to know what's happening in your neighborhood as well. So we're excited about North Star, looking forward to it. And you got a great asset in Scott. Dr. Schmidt has put together he's assembled a wonderful leadership team, and it's a real testament to what you're accomplishing here at Rockbridge. So with that introduction, I want to talk a little bit about what we do and how we work with you. We were formed originally in 1976, the Northeast Service Cooperative, under state legislation. The statute is 123A21. We serve the 7 counties of Northeast Minnesota. There's 8 others of us, like us, around the state. They pretty much run the gamut of what you would expect. There's one in Northwest, one in East Central, one in Southeast, one in Southwest, one in the metro area. You get the picture. We're in the Northeast region. This is a heat map that one of our staff members put together that we're going to be adding to the web shortly, and it lists our programs and services. You see them top to bottom, telecommunications and technology, all the way down to building planning solutions with a small group we work with called Ingenza. What I love about this map and what it illustrates is the collaboration we have in the region, how that collaboration leads to shared practices, much like you're doing here in this district, with your academies, or what you're doing at the building level with your leadership. The fact that we're rural, we do a lot of great work. We connect to the Twin Cities, we connect statewide, but we're based right here out of Mount Iron, Virginia. And that makes it exciting for our work because we're able to build relationships that are long-term and make these things happen. What's even more exciting for you as a school board, who cares about this map if it doesn't help you at all? Somebody talked about cuts earlier, Matt was up here. What I love about our model is it's not the full meal deal. When you work with us, your choices are off the menu. If telco works, you're in. If group health doesn't work for you, you're out. 2 years later, if you want to come back at a group health, you can come back in. So you can fit the services to what you need at Rockridge, or St. Louis County Schools, or Hibbing Schools, or Chisholm Schools. And I love that. The pressure on us then is to do good work, because we want to work with you. But when you work with us, you put the menu together of what works best for the local school district. A couple of things I want to mention. Kind of this theme of member-driven. At the top, you see telecommunications and technology. That came from our members. In fact, Virginia and Evelyn Gilbert were lead members of a small network we had from 2000 to 2010 called Northeast Net. So that was member-driven. The education and services, including career and technical education that you see in the middle here, that is from the governor's office and MDE. Again, partners asking us to get more heavily involved. And I love what we're doing in behavioral health. In fact, if we get an opportunity, we'd love to have our lead on behavioral mental health, Aubrey Hoover, come in and talk to you about what we're doing across the region. That particular program, in part, came out of a superintendent planning session that I believe Dr. Schmidt was part of in about 2020, where between COVID and what we saw going on in our schools, not just for the kids, but for staff, how critical balance was in their lives. Not because we separate that from our work, but it's part of our work. So we're excited about that program. We wanted to highlight it. And what makes it more exciting is the menu that drives it, the way you can pick what fits for Rockridge, and the fact that the menu in place comes from the feedback we get listening to you. This page is, and you got the sheet in front of you, this page is a deeper dive on the heat map. A couple of things I want to talk about here. Again, CTE, career and technical education. Your academies are broader, of course. We understand that. On the upper right-hand corner, again, kind of a deep dive of what we're doing. What we love is the things we're doing in CTE are to complement what lead districts like Rockridge or the South Proctor are already doing when it comes to not just CTE, but academy-like work. What's not here, which I find interesting, is NESC doesn't chase what we can't build and sustain. So, you're recording this, aren't you? This list is a little longer than I would like, but it's based on what members want. We do not chase services. We don't say, wouldn't it be nice if we could sell this to somebody? Who cares if people don't need it? So, recently some of my colleagues talked about us getting into AI. And my comment so far from a leadership standpoint is being done real well elsewhere. we're not going to add anything to that conversation. We need to be aware of what's going on. We need to be conversational about it, but we're not going to get into AI unless we see a need. There's other resources we can steer people to. In fact, it's really a theme that I like to talk about with our staff. And you're all aware of it. It's kind of old school, but it really still matters. You either want to lead, you want to follow, or you want to get out of the way. And we're always evaluating around that. We don't need to be everything to everybody. We just need to be doing the things people need and want, and hopefully doing them well. Some examples of things that are fairly new to us. First of all, it's a terrible slide, isn't it? My apologies. My colleague said, Paul, can't we do better? I said, not with the time at hand, but I'm still going to talk about it. So one of the things that's new is our work in Compass for our statewide system of support at each region. And again, you go back to this theme that we're talking about, where we have the state picture here, all 9 service cooperative regions working together under a single JPA called the Minnesota Service Cooperatives, partnering with the Minnesota Department of Education. MDE, Minnesota Service Cooperatives, and then those co-ops are working together under that JPA. What does it mean? At the state level, the state does what it does well. Shared mission, planning, resources, and accountability. At NESC, we do what we do well. We take action, we focus, we make our programs accessible, and we're flexible. So again, you see that theme of collaboration, working to make sure that we have complementary services, and that the roles for the partners we work with complement one another to put together something that's quality and makes a difference for our school district members. Again, not the best slide, but it does tell the story, the big picture of how we're working together as one entity, but that entity then has a regional flavor in everything we do. Another thing that's fairly new to us, it's still a little old if you want to start there, it's been around now for almost 10 years, is our Northeast Middle Mile Fiber Network. And we're going to talk in a moment about how that's expanding. So again, as you see at the, Michael, where's that little,
There's a little line on that.
little line?
Yeah.
There we go. So we focus on the middle mile. We're a provider's provider. Again, centralized, backbone, public and private sector, running from the falls down to Willow River, all the way up the short past Grand Marais, and then to the west, stopping at about Kelly Lake. This network has been around for almost 10 years now. And again, the big thing that I want to stress when we talk about the network is we're reinvesting in that network. So in the recent couple of years, we've done additional work at Rockridge. Additional work at Rockridge. Apparently you're getting some roundabouts that are going to be put in down here, Dr. Schmidt? Yeah.
Rumor is, yes.
So Mike's always out in front of this stuff, called our staff, whenever you find out, what, months ago?
Yeah.
Maybe a year ago. And so our staff, I think, was supposed to be here today. I found out we weren't here today.
Oh, okay.
So we're coming later this week. So we got to get that going so we stay connected.
And you serve as from, if I can interrupt that, you serve as both directions of Highway 53. So if there's a break towards Hibbing, or one direction, it'll actually fail over to the other. So we have a redundant ring, basically, with NESC.
Back to the thank you, Mike. I tell Mike he was hired, but he worked for us already one time 10, 12 years ago. So then you guys took him to Virginia. So, but you got a good one, you know that. So it's good. Back to relationships again. We bring people through, they move on. We always wish them well and get a chance to work with them on the other side. So we're developing the Virginia-Hibbing corridor, and we're also, you saw in the news, Tim, I know you like to watch the news a lot, in Cloquet, the business center is expanding. Did anyone see that on the local television news here in the last week? They're using our fiber assets. We're behind the curtain. And we like that. CTC is in front of the curtain. They're doing the performance, but we're behind the production. So that's another thing that we do. One thing we're really excited about here is this piece here. another reinvestment in our network. To Mike's point about redundant connections, that's something we're always looking to do. And when something gets interrupted, we try to take another redundant path and put something in place that can work for the next 10, 20, or 30 years. We recently updated our network core. The core is just a fancy name for the guts of the network that make it work. So we've updated our network core at the level of 4,100 gigahertz optical channels. There's nothing like it north of the Twin Cities. In fact, when we discussed this a couple of years ago about the investment, it was about $3 million. Tim Reardon is on our board, he knows about this. We talked about solutions that were going to be a little less expensive. We came to the conclusion, back to quality, that if we're going to be the lead provider, a provider's provider, we needed to invest in a state-of-the-art network core that was in front of what everyone else was doing. In that way, we can serve 18 telco partners, 1,000 connections, 84 members, schools, cities, counties, other governmentals, and the state of Minnesota. So we're always looking ahead, making sure that our investments follow through. One thing I want to mention before we move on to our growth is Tim Reardon's on our board. He was board chair when we completed this project. He helped us get it together and was instrumental in getting a deal together with the state of Minnesota. Tim, that's still lasting. We just re-upped for another 10 years with them. So we appreciate his work and the support that you give him as colleagues to be on our board. Because that's how it works, doesn't it? So let's talk about where this network is growing for the right reasons. So in 2021, we received a grant of $3.3 million from EDA, the federal government. Our match is just under $1 million for construction that began this last spring. What I'm excited about is that when you see what we're doing for our expansion is running from Willow River, where the network used to end, down to Pine City and Cambridge. When we're done, as you saw in the earlier slide, we'll have over 1,200 miles of optical fiber. We'll have a chance to expand the members that we serve and be a backbone for optical fiber here in Northeast and East Central Minnesota. So I look at what our goals for the expansion are, and they're coming true already, is economic growth, education, healthcare, government, public safety, access to internet core. I didn't even think about it when we were putting this slide together. We had our team meet. We got a team of about 5 of us that have different perspectives in the agency that meet on these presentations. So we made sure that we're sharing the message that Rockridge wants to hear in some way. We don't know it all, but in some way, make sure we're reaching you and where you're at. And so I got excited because I hadn't thought about this when we drafted this. These goals you see here, these are our goals in 2010. When we originally were awarded the network, Tim, from USDA. And then that network was launched in 2015. So, as we look to close, I want to talk about Scott again. Wish I had a picture of Scott, because I really enjoyed my day with him. He was so excited. I thought I was at a new house for that guy. You know, I was waiting to have him bring his parents in and, you know, share some cookies and milk or something. I mean, he was really pumped. It was real genuine. It was fun to watch.
We got cookies the day of the open house.
Did you see how the day late?
Lots of them.
You're rubbing it in.
Yeah. So when I think about the Northeast Service Cooperative, I think of how we work with folks like Rockridge. I think about that, things that we've been at for, in our case, just a couple of decades. In Rockridge's case, you've been at it for 100 years. With towns called Virginia, Evelyn, and Gilbert. So in prepping for this, after I had a chance to talk with Scott, I went on the web, and you've got an alumni section, Dr. Schmidt. I hadn't seen it before. And if you haven't read that, who here is a Virginia, Evelyn, or Gilbert graduate? Let's see a show of hands. If you haven't read that, that'll get you tingling a little bit. Because, Noel, I think you might have had a hand in this because you're a good writer. It was exciting to see that sense that what you built and what you set in place, set in motion because it doesn't end, is exactly what the immigrants built in the 20s. With this thought that we're going to be better, we're going to do right by our communities, But now the community's broadened a little bit. It's no longer just Virginia, Evelyn, and Gilbert, it's Rockridge. And it was even interesting to have Scott talk about, and maybe you heard the story, when they were digging the posts for the fence around around North Star Elementary, hitting the old foundation from 1920 and having to move the posts around. Did anyone hear that story? You got to ask them about that. They were having trouble getting those posts in the ground because that old foundation was there and it's too expensive to take out of the ground. So to see that and to realize that legacy that started 100 years ago is being renewed by this board. And we're just happy to be part of it. We're happy to serve you. We're proud to be affiliated with Rockridge. I wanted to leave my phone number. If you want to find out more about what we do, you can call me anytime or text. My email prefix would be paulb, P-A-U-L-B, @nescmn.net. Be happy to talk more about what we do. Contact me at any time. And at this time, here tonight, happy to answer any questions you might have about what we do. Thank you, Mike, by the way, for doing my job there on the redundancy network. Questions, comments?
Any questions for Paul from the board?
I have a question, maybe not for you, Paul, but for you, Noel. Do we partake in the cooperative purchasing through Service Corp?
We do when we can use them. So yes, we absolutely do because they have lowest prices we're probably gonna find anywhere.
I just wonder how often we do check before, do some comparison before we order from.
Especially on the bigger items. We check with them quite often because they can save us quite a bit of money. And members of the board, just so you know, when I'm just talking to other people from around the state, Paul's a big deal. Everybody knows this guy. With the service co-ops, et cetera, he's held in very high regard. We're very lucky to have him locally here. It's incredible. The service co-op has helped for a bunch of different things. And when he says their menu, you can choose what works, he means it. They're not making that up. Sometimes you got to be all in or not in on a service co-op or a cooperative. That's not how it works up here. So Paul's been a great steward, cheerleader for you over the years, and I just want you to know that he's a big deal in the state of Minnesota and other people look to him. This guy has a lot of people who like him throughout the state.
We got a good team. Thank you, though. I appreciate that.
Paul, you giving this presentation to the other members in the area?
We do. We get invited from time to time. We're not out on a stump right now, but we get invited. We've been at Hibbing, we've been at Chisholm, we've been elsewhere. It's been a while since I've been down south, but we do get invited. We always say yes. And then if a date doesn't work, we look at a future date. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Up next, 5.2, the greenhouse project update with presenter Keith Peterson and Mike Nystrom.
Hello, thank you for giving me a few minutes to give you an update tonight. I'm here with Mike Nystrom. We're both members of a small group of people working on building this deep winter greenhouse. It's been quite a while, but just to refresh your memory, we like 4 to 5 years ago, we started thinking about this idea with the Academy's model of maybe building the greenhouse on the Rockridge campus, and met with a bunch of people throughout the school and got some positive feedback and ended up coming before the board a couple times. We signed a memorandum of understanding back in February of 23, so it's been a while. So since that time, we've been working on fundraising, and excited to report that our goal was 50 to 70,000. We've actually exceeded that goal by a decent amount, so we're up to $104,000, almost $105,000 that we've raised. Most of that money comes to the Minnesota Department of Agriculture with the big grant we got through them. So just kind of here to give you an update. I think next steps are to try and work with, Mike's done a lot of work on sort of costs, and the University of Minnesota has done a lot of research on these greenhouses. So we have a meeting set up hopefully later this week, if not next week, with a couple of those experts to kind of get a sense of like what's the current state of the art in terms of what's the most efficient greenhouse we can build, looking again at size, making sure that it's adequate for students and classes. We've met with science teachers a couple of times. It's been a while, so we had to get back to them. And then in the back of our mind is continuing to think about developing curriculum, and we're going to continue to try and raise a little bit of money, hopefully hire somebody for at least a few years to kind of get the greenhouse started and up and running, and hopefully integrated into some of the science curriculum, thinking about agricultural careers. anything really that people would be excited to use it. There's a nice model in Aurora that's been very successful, so we'll work with them to sort of gain some of that knowledge. But we think we'll try and work with Cross Anderson as kind of contractors. We've met with Dr. Schmidt thinking about that in terms of we have to sort of tap into infrastructure, and we need someone who understands codes and all the little things that we have to do right to make sure this is built in a way that lasts, and we do want it to look really good too, so that it ties in with, the new school. There's one site set aside as you come up to Rockridge, right as you come to the high school on your left there, that faces south, kind of down a little bit, but that's one area we've looked at, and I think we'll continue to look around now that everything's built and try and pick, the best spot for the greenhouse so it's accessible and efficient and all those things. So yeah, we're trying to kind of finalize the design and then try and meet with Cross Anderson and get some better sense of exactly where the numbers are today compared to when we looked at this a few years ago, and then come back to you guys with more details when we know more. But I think that's like anything I missed. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer questions or give more information, but just want to give an update.
Keith, hold on there, but I'm going to ask you another question. I can't remember, but we had a couple of ladies come and present to us about area where they grow
Farm to table.
farm to table,
Yeah.
yeah. Is that any kind of a cooperation type of a thing that might be workable?
Yeah, I
Farm
think
to table, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. The scale of the greenhouse we're building, we're thinking of more as a classroom, kind of a laboratory, a learning center. We're hoping that there'll be enough room to grow some food that maybe could be sold in the cafeteria. People perhaps if you have a business class. But the greenhouse itself, original size was 24 by 24. We're hoping to go a little bit bigger than that. But we're not at the scale of like growing enough food to sort of supply the cafeteria. So we kind of have to see how things work out. But the answer is that we've talked about that and talked with different people about that. But the goal for this was really more about getting science teachers, getting kids learning how to grow things, understanding things about, pollinators and soil health and agricultural education, more of a classroom than a farm. Though if there's opportunity with both, that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking even at the smallest level, they're so similar.
Yeah.
And those ideas and those initiatives that, I wasn't thinking big scale.
Yeah, and hopefully we can show that this works, that it's popular and it works, and, we could grow food, then maybe there's an opportunity down the line to really scale that up in a way that there's so many new things with vertical growth and hydroponics and things that are out there now that we get some interest.
Is there any need or possibility or possible use to tie into, now we're gonna have solar panels on the Laurentian? I know greenhouses are hothouses themselves, but would there be any tie-in with anything solar?
Yeah, I think we could think about that. And I think in the long term, the nice thing about this greenhouse is it's a passive solar greenhouse that the University of Minnesota designed. And it's really efficient because it actually pulls in heat through the day, and then it has this sort of thermal mass underneath the greenhouse and circulates that air into this thermal mass, and then pulls that heat back out at night. And in northern Minnesota, we're lucky because it's cold, but it's often clear when it's really cold. And so these greenhouses have done really well and very, very cost efficient. But I think if you could use solar or something like that to make it even more cost efficient and more environmentally friendly, I think that would be wonderful. That's not in the plans right now, but I think it's a great idea.
I'll keep it in mind, I hope.
Yeah.
All right. Any more questions for Mike?
Keith.
Sorry.
Mike's there. He's the quiet one.
Yeah, if you got questions, let me know. But thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks for the update.
5.3, discussion and possible action regarding the Varsity assistant athletic coaches with Josh Lampa.
Just here to answer questions. I think this is stemming from our discussion at the activities committee meeting last week, right?
Yeah, so what came out of the activities meeting?
Sounded like they maybe want to reinstate it, the cuts that were previously made with the assistant coaches.
So what you saying?
Yeah, we're talking about numbers. I think we talked about where the numbers may be warranted, or I don't know if it may have a line thing. I kind of thought that's what you're gonna come back with some numbers. No?
I can give you numbers right off the top of my head if you need them now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we had a discussion. I mean, I was under the direction that we're cutting on these things, so that's where I was going, and I made schedules, and didn't know it was gonna have more junior high coaches. But since that activities committee meeting, I hired some more football coaches for junior high because we're at 80 kids for junior high football, and that wasn't part of the original cuts. And then we have 3 junior high volleyball coaches this fall. We're not going to be able, we won't need 4 teams, we'll have 3 teams. But the biggest discussion, I guess, is do you want to bring back that assistant coach that you guys previously cut for each of those sports that we added 2 years ago?
Who's in the?
I was there.
Okay, I was there too. I think, yeah, I just thought we should have a discussion about it because we just don't want to leave our teams in need. That's the only thing that I was worried about, like, and so I was kind of just looking for numbers to see, because we're also talking about like bus shortages and ride shortages and maybe needing, people to help drive, and maybe coaches would fill that need. So we're just seeing more of a hardship, and I just didn't want to leave any of our teams.
I can understand with larger numbers, like the football team, we got an email about the ski team.
Right.
And then with Matt coming to talk about, having 52 kids.
Matt's got the greatest point of them all. He's only got 2 coaches right now, paid coaches with 52 golfers. Like he said, so there were some days last spring, we had the varsity at one meet, we had the JV at another meet, we had the junior high at another meet. With 2 coaches, we can't do that. Plus, there's nobody here then for the rest of the kids to practice, like he said. That's exactly right for him. He's got a lot higher numbers than the girls golf, if you want to compare numbers, but again, you can't do that. You have to bring the assistant back for all the sports.
But why do we have to do that? Can't we do it based on numbers? Why do we have to?
That would be a Title IX.
That's because,
Boys had
okay.
3 boys had 3 golf coaches paid and the girls had 2. No, we have a Title IX issue. But it's the same problem, like I tried to explain to you at the committee meeting. Just because the girls have less golfers, they're still going the same amount of meets, and they need coaches to drive them to the same amount of meets. So
what was there?
If you want to bring that assistant coach back, my suggestion, we bring that back for all the sports that was cut. I mean, Jamie was at the activities committee meeting for baseball. I mean, a lot of games, we played varsity and the JV at the same time. And like John pointed out, if we don't have a volunteer there, we have a student coaching first base instead of our assistant coach coaching first base. It's the same for softball.
I guess I didn't understand the Title IX thing, so I'm glad that you explained that
Yeah,
too.
we can't have for boys and girls different. They need to be the same.
But we can have for different sports. Would that be accurate for different sports? Maybe there wouldn't be a need as much as other sports?
Sure, you can do it by sport if you like to.
I'm just trying to, I know that we did cut that. I get that. I don't want us,
I mean,
to leave.
like I said, I'm here, I got everything right up here, so you go ahead and ask whatever questions you have for whatever sport.
So where are we at? I think I attended the meeting, I'm not a committee member, but were you looking for some more numbers for girls soccer? Where are we now?
Girls soccer is at 14 girls.
Okay, and what do we need? Are we still looking for?
The girls soccer has officially canceled their varsity season and they're playing the JV season with the 14 girls. Because out of the 14 girls, 9 of them were like 7th and 8th graders. So they're going to play a JV season.
Does that meet Title IX?
Yeah.
I have, when we were talking soccer, we also talked about the jersey, and you brought that to
Yep.
Emmy, and
Yes.
what was their thoughts on
That
it?
conversation was fine, but he said, I've, all fine. He said, I'm happy with that idea, but if I buy jerseys, you're gonna guarantee me that you have a field for them next year to play on over here. I said, well, I'll bring that back to the next activities committee meeting, but if you wanna discuss it here, we can too. So, otherwise, he said, no, he would not. I mean, like I said before, our soccer issue, if that's what you wanna talk about, is we need more space. We need more field space. That's the bottom line.
If I remember correctly, the discussion was that we're short about one soccer field. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Soccer/football field,
Yeah, I mean,
either way.
all these fields right now are being used, and adding soccer just is gonna add another 200 hours on the usage for the fall, and we don't have another field with that right now.
And right now, we don't have any girls that want to play soccer. So is it a sport that we have a lot of kids even wanting to play?
We got like 4 or 5 girls signed up for soccer right now out of the 14. I think we added a couple more for the volleyball cuts. We might have to be up to 6 Rockridge girls.
Wait a minute, I thought you said 14. We have 14.
But there's some from.
8 from the other schools, from Southeast. We have 6 of ours.
But it's also a
six of
sport
ours?
that's kind of growing too. It's not like it's a newer sport.
Like on the boys' side, we have 30 on Rockridge kids And then-
Okay. And then we have 6 for Rockridge and 14 from others? For
14
girls?
total
14 total.
from the
And
girls'
six.
We
side.
said 4 or 5 of them, I believe, is what you said from Rockridge.
We had initially like 5 signed up, but I think we had 1 or 2 that, after they got cut from the volleyball team, switched over to soccer. So I think we're at 6 or 7 Rockridge kids. I have to look it up exactly, but I know for sure 6.
So reinstating assistant coaches, what does that mean dollar sign wise?
You guys made the cut, I think it was like 67,000, something like that, is what we cut in coaches.
Yep. Now, members of the board, it's at this point that, and I'm not trying to cause rain on the parade, the athletic situation at all, but this was part of your budget cut. If you do bring the coaches back, however many you bring back, you just need to understand that in the spring, I'm coming back to you and saying, we have not only the 60,000, if you do the whole package deal, it's gonna be $120,000 because it rolls over into the next year. So you can do this. I just want to make you aware of just some of the decisions you're going to have later on in the spring.
Could,
If you do it for one, like you said, can you do sport by sport? Sorry.
Right.
I mean, if you say, yeah, we're gonna add, let's just coach back for golf and baseball and softball, your basketball coaches are gonna be in here the next day, and your wrestling coaches are gonna be, I mean, my suggestion would be you do it for all.
What's the
That's
recommendation?
actually really, really needed in wrestling, if you wanna talk to wrestling, because that's a whole other issue right now, because girls wrestling taking off. We actually need a girls wrestling coach.
Okay, so that was my other question. Are there sports that need it more than others?
Every one of them, that's why we put them on there 2 years ago. We got bigger. We're a bigger school. We added those coaches 2 years ago because we were preparing to be a bigger school. So, yeah, I mean, no other school around here has 6 baseball teams. No other school around here has 7 boys basketball teams, but we did last year. You know, we have a lot of kids out for sports, you know, so.
So the recommendation out of the athletic committee is to reinstate these.
Correct.
Okay.
That was the recommendation by your activities committee members to reinstate these.
Well, to at least
Here
have a
is-
conversation, we thought it warranted to bring it to the full board to have a conversation about it.
I'd make a motion to reinstate the varsity assistant athletic coaches.
we're gonna do it, we do it in the fall so that all sports get treated equally.
So that means we'd have to go back right now. We could actually then, if we did this, we could hire, because we lost the assistant volleyball coach, we could hire the additional volleyball coach right now as an assistant, but.
But we're gonna be
That's
throwing
what-
our
and then-
budget off.
We had to dig in the cushions.
But it didn't affect football. You didn't cut a football coach and you didn't cut a tennis coach. So really, what really affects this fall would be volleyball.
And it's
School
need,
hire some cross-
and it's needed, number-wise.
But if it's volleyball, it's,
That's, I think, Nicole's
Yeah, sorry.
question and mine is,
yeah,
are we gonna be adding coaches that are really not needed,
thank you.
number-wise?
Well, if we didn't need them the last time, and we needed them, so we must still need them,
No.
even
you're
though we
not gonna-
cut them.
I mean, you might look at it at the end of the year and say, boy, that sport only had, you know, so and so X is amount of kids out for that sport, and we probably could have got away with it, but again, just because boys golf got 50 girls and girls golf's got 25 girls, they both need it.
Oh, yeah, well, in those areas, but in ones like, there is no boys volleyball yet, so there's just volleyball.
There's just volleyball, right?
Are we adding one that the numbers say, yes, we should?
Well, they got their rosters already set, but yeah, I mean, they could use the help. There are weekends again where our JV volleyball team is going to a tournament over here and our varsity team is going to a tournament over here.
And we only have 2.
And now we have one coach at each spot.
Yeah.
Be nice to have that assistant coach with the varsity coach for that tournament. You know, that's the kind of issues you run into.
Okay.
Numbers are not, so.
I know that this is a complicated thought here, but could we have volunteers, like for the running in place of coaches, or?
We have lots of volunteers.
Yeah.
Over 18 volunteer football coaches right now, 5 through 12.
But like Matt had said, the volunteer coaches can't drive.
They can't
They
drive.
can't transport kids.
They
Because
don't-
of age or just legalities?
Legalities,
Okay.
they can't drive, we don't
Okay, thank
issue them a fob, so they don't have access to get here on practices, they don't have any keys. They show up, you know,
And there is a shortage of drivers, like we talked about that too, at the committee meeting.
I just need direction where back to go, if I'm gonna hire coaches back, if I'm not, I mean, I'll keep going with your cuts. But I'll keep adding junior high coaches as I see fit. I got the green light to do that, which I did. And that number's gonna go up when school starts. We've always get another, seems like 7 to 10 boys that'll sign up for football when school starts. It wouldn't surprise me if we're over 90 to 100 kids by next week.
Which is great. Yeah.
Which we might need even another coach. Right now we have 4 coaches for 80 kids, so.
Didn't we in football combine 7th and 8th, or didn't we combine into one team? Or?
No, we still have 2 separate teams.
Oh, that was a suggestion maybe, okay.
7th through 8th, we have 5 football teams this fall. Compared to last year, we had 4. We have a full, that's one of the reasons we don't have space. We do have a full 7th grade schedule, a full 8th grade schedule, C schedule, a JV schedule for football this year for the first time because our numbers are so high, and then of course our varsity schedule. So we have 5 full teams in football, full schedules.
Plus 5th and 6th?
Plus 5th and 6th.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
So we
the numbers, I hate saying this, this is a Bill Addy addition. The numbers may not be as bad because we have the numbers of kids coming out paying the fees.
Well, that's true, and the fees were raised, but we did take that.
We did raise fees, that was all part of your package, right? We
Right.
raised the fees, we're raising ticket prices, we're selling the tickets for all levels this year, for all the games, no matter if it's a junior high game or varsity game, that was part of the package. So I'm trying to find ticket sellers for all those events, which is not easy to do, but we're working on it.
So I wonder how they do things like down in the southern Minnesota in the bigger schools, because you're talking, because we're so big, we have so many students.
They don't have
How-
junior high sports down there.
No,
Their ADs deal with 10th through 12th graders and that's it.
that's it.
We're dealing, I'm the only one
So it's a
around here
whole
that has to
different
deal with
ball
7th through
game.
12th.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a whole different
all
ballgame.
right, good to know.
They have their own middle schools and run their middle school sports, and we're one of the few at our size that run 7th through 12th. They being next to us, that's a little bit
I guess
smaller,
I was
so
wondering,
it's
do they like have a cutoff point where they just don't take any more kids, or, which you don't wanna see that
There's
happen,
probably
but,
tryouts and stuff.
They have I'm
Yeah.
sure a lot of tryouts, just like we have tryouts now too, or we make cuts in sports.
Right.
It's one thing that we talked about the activities committee, we didn't want to cut at the junior high level. But I was understanding that that was part of our cuts, so I think that was one of the scares out there, we were gonna do that, but now I'll just, if we need 4 junior high basketball teams again, I'll try to make it work. Last year we're the only school in the state of Minnesota that had 90 junior high basketball games scheduled. I guarantee you that. We had 4 teams that all played 25 games.
If you have to make
It's not
cuts,
easy to do.
if you have to make cuts, do you start with the lowest grade level?
Right now, we start at the 9th grade, level.
I mean, if you have to make cuts, you'd start at the lowest, like even the 5th and the 6th.
I don't know if they'd make cuts at that level, that's from elementary, but
I mean, for our budget.
If he's talking about coaches, you're talking about players, I think.
oh.
right,
Oh, you're talking coaches?
I was talking players.
Oh, yeah, players, yeah. That was one of the discussions.
Yeah, I never.
Level, they decided, no, we should not. So let's just keep all those junior high kids out on a sport and hire coaches as I needed.
I mean,
Get it filled.
When you said we might have to make cuts, I just wondered which you were talking.
I thought going into this year, we might have to make cuts at the junior high level. So did our coaches, that's what I told them.
I have to say, just for football.
Because we couldn't have one football coach
Yeah.
with 40 kids.
With 5th grade football, it's 5th and 6th, and there's like 3 teams. It's a lot of kids, which is great. Like, it's so cool, but we're like the only school that we have 3 teams. Every Duluth school only has 1 team.
Our numbers are big.
Their tunnel looks awesome too.
Our numbers are growing.
And the other thing is it
Very
feeds
cool.
into what's gonna happen on under 4 with our transportation, with coaches that
I'm just worried about
become
that.
drivers
Yeah.
and safety and more participation.
And just for, what's the word? Having adults there to supervise, less coaches, more kids. It's tough.
It's gonna get, the transportation, like you mentioned right there, it's gonna get worse in the winter.
Yeah.
Right now, we have just a handful, we know our schedule, but like you said, like last year, if we're operating 7 basketball teams, and 3 or 4 of them could be on the road on one night, which they could go in different directions. When you have that many junior high teams, it makes it more difficult to get those games in buses.
Okay,
I have a question. Do we still have the policy where the head coaches pick their assistant coaches? We had that policy before.
Yeah, they have a lot of say in that.
No, a lot to say, but we have actually had a policy where they,
We just talked about that 2 weeks ago when we hired the hockey coach.
well, what's the answer?
Well, you had the answer 2 weeks ago.
Well, what is it? Maybe I
I mean, they
forgot.
pick
Maybe
the
I'm getting
coach.
forgetful.
They pick the coach, the assistant coach, they bring it to the school board and we approve it.
The head coach brings an assistant
16.
recommendation.
Hmm.
And
Well, we
is it-
still apply for them, the head coach.
Background checks.
Sometimes I'll sit on interviews if they want me to for the lower level coaches.
And that's my second question, is that we would be posting and advertising for these assistants.
Since you caught them, I guess we probably have to post them, but these are all people that are already on staff from last year that would probably want that same job back, and I'm sure the head coaches would like those people back.
I just want to be consistent
Yeah.
and fair, that's
So
all.
if we do bring them back, I guess I'd have to post them all, yes.
okay, so we got a motion on the table, 5.3, motion by Director Yuan, support by Director Reardon, to bring back the coaches per the recommendation of the athletic committee and the AD. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
I hope we get revenue.
Thank you, Josh.
Well, that many kids,
Yeah.
that many kids, there's revenue being generated. 5.4, transportation update with Mr. Voss. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Evening, board members. Dr. Schmidt asked me to come tonight and give you a little bit of update on where transportation for Rockridge is here as of the start of school. Buses are pretty much ready. Anything that needed to be addressed on the buses has been addressed. So we're okay there. We do have some new buses on order. I don't think we're honestly going to see those buses until December, maybe even January. They keep pushing them off. Had I ordered a new bus today, we won't see it for 18 months. So it's just getting a little bit longer. Today I had a bus driver safety meeting at Rockridge High School in the auditorium. All of the drivers completed, there's 4 cycle tests that I have to give to drivers, 1 each year. It has to be a different test. Everybody took their test. And it's a safety test. They also completed their right to know training, which they have to do each year, which deals with different chemicals that they might come in contact around the school, and their bloodborne pathogen training that they do once a year. I've been working on routes pretty much since April or so. I pretty much finished them mid-July. It's just a matter of now entering the kids and getting out the old kids that have graduated. So that's done. So we're adding the new kids in. This year, we're going to have 11 buses running north of Midway and 10 buses that'll be south of Midway. I was, like I promised the board and I promised Dr. Schmidt, I was able to cut 2 buses out of the fleet. So that's going to save about 35,000 miles in mileage, and it's going to be about $127,000 in savings that'll be to the district. So, and that's give or take, because there was a little bit of play with running back and forth to Evelyn High School and Franklin, that type of thing. I've got 3 drivers that are going through training right now, 3 custodians that we hired. One's gonna test on Wednesday, so hopefully we'll have another driver on Wednesday. Letters to parents went out on Thursday on what buses they're gonna take. That spurred a lot of phone calls. I probably received 100 phone calls, and I have literally talked to every one of those parents. And it really helps us clean up our data. So that's really a good thing.
Can I interject just to say something on that? I received 2 letters because I have 2 children through email. I thought that was brilliant. I loved it. So thank you. I thought that was.
Those were all sent out electronically this year. We didn't do it through the mail this year. So Bill Bryson helped me put that together and it really went well.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I thought I got a hard copy. Didn't I get a,
What's
I
that?
thought I got a hard copy in the mail.
Nope, not for me.
Your wife printed it out.
Probably.
I didn't get one, no.
One thing I did want to address was the walk zone around the new North Star. I have had no negative feedback on that at all. In fact, I was talking to Scott Manny approached me today and he said he hasn't had any negative feedback on it either, so. So that's what's happening in transportation. Any questions?
So when we talked at the activity committee, you said you're about 4 drivers short. We approved some today and the consent agenda, how much does that help you?
I'm driver short. I will probably start the year actually driving a bus myself. It's just a fact that we can't get along without. It's gonna be tough, but we're gonna have to hire out we'll have to do some contracting out, whoever's available. And we'll just have to do our best and hopefully get the kids to the games that they need to be at.
Okay.
Does that include overtime for our employees?
Pardon me?
Does that include overtime for our employees?
It will, yeah. There will be some overtime, yeah.
And you said there was 3 new,
There's three
Possibly
new-
coming-
yeah, There's 3 new custodian drivers that we hired.
yeah.
And now they've got 30 days to get their bus license. Well, one is gonna test on Wednesday.
Okay. So we'll still be behind the 8 ball. When just need bus drivers.
Yeah, we lost a lot of part-time people, pretty much because of retirement. There were a couple that left, like for US Steel, like, they were full-time jobs, they couldn't stay. And, it's hard to replace it.
Yeah. Okay.
Any questions for Bob?
Oh, I do it for Dr. Schmidt, but
Okay,
yeah, just for the walk zone. Okay, thank you, Bob.
thanks, Bob.
Thank you. Do we have crossing guards or what's the
Yes, Manny, and the teachers will get a whole crossing guard situation going.
Okay.
Not at the ones that are a long ways away from the school.
Yeah.
But the ones closest to the school, yep, they have a
With the
whole
most
system
traffic.
set up with teachers and everybody to stop traffic right around the immediate school area.
And so is there a plan for like drop off and pick up kind of, or not really?
Yes, we would like, the north side of North Star is going to be where the parent drop-off is going to be. So, because then the buses will be on the courthouse side of the North Star. There's a little cut-in indentation, it's been there for years. That's where the buses will be pulling in and out. So if you're a parent and you're listening to this, we want you dropping off on the north side of North Star. And they've actually been doing that, this isn't new. So, but that's where we want them to go.
Gotcha, thank you.
Okay. 5.5 there, update from Rams. I think everybody got their little letter to read. How do you want to?
This was,
It's just an update.
that's just
kind
an
of,
FYI to the
Right.
board.
That they love that you had a.
Yeah, because you are a member of Rams.
Okay. All right.
And I don't believe that we could have a, one anyway, because we have a rep already.
Right.
So we wouldn't qualify for, what's the word, nominations.
Yeah, we
We don't
already have.
qualify for nominations.
For Rams?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we
Tim's
have, Tim's on
Are
the
you
board
on
already.
Rams?
I'm not on Rams.
He's
Oh,
on
I
the-
thought you were.
No, he's on the
I'm on
Northeast
Northeast
Service
Oh,
Cooperative.
sorry, I thought you were. Yeah, okay. Well, then we could have a nomination then.
I nominate Tim.
Oh, no.
No?
I'm
You're nominated out?
nominated out. But thank you.
I nominate Lisa.
No, I'm good.
I'll nominate Nicole.
Oh, I'll second that.
You're a stinker.
Goes
I don't
around,
know.
comes
I'm
around.
too
Would you
busy.
accept, would you accept? the
And-
I don't
nomination?
know what the crazy.
What,
Well, I mean,
how many meetings is it? Does it say, I can't remember how many. They have like 4 a year or then they have the annual.
Time for that, she's got time.
Yeah.
You have to give a presentation to the Rams board and opening statement and,
nope.
no, I guess you have to kind of apply, give
Yeah,
a.
they've changed,
Oh, I mean, maybe in the future, but not right now. Thank you.
So there'll be no nominations from our district going forward for ramps. Can we honestly say that?
You can say that.
Okay, all right, we'll move on then. Thanks, Ramps, for giving us the opportunity. 5.6, Superintendent. 5.61, beginning of the school year update.
Members of the school board, a couple updates just to tell you, but first of all, the athletics, so you understand, you have an incredible amount of kids who are going out for athletics. This is crazy, the size of it. It's a good problem you have. This is almost unheard of anywhere. You have so many kids who want to play sports at Rock Ridge. So you have a good problem to have, actually. So it's amazing how many kids want to play sports here. A couple things to bring up. Why don't you, I should have passed these out earlier.
Ticket sales, we're gonna get revenue, ticket sales. Yes.
Yes, absolutely, hope so.
There you go. Positive thinking.
Yeah.
And what you're receiving, and there was one for the audience, I'm putting this out here. This is a map of, I credit Jim Adrick. He's the one who actually did this hand-drawn map. Because I know some of you are hearing from people that they're worried about parking at North Star. So this is a map to show you where North Star is, and it's just the school. This isn't a fancy drawn one, CAD drawing or anything.
He's not as good as you.
But it's.
Not as colorful.
Yeah, no color.
But his handwriting is way better than mine.
You can tell it was on a canvas. He put that on, if you look closely.
He's
it was
got
on a
that,
canvas.
it's got that old-fashioned artistic look. So you see that when you look at this, he put the number of parking spaces that are around various parking lots around North Star. There's well over 100 plus parking spaces. And there's plenty of parking for everybody. And you have to think that for decades, Virginia had a high school there. And somehow they managed to survive, and they had like 200 or 300 kids per grade for years. And they were all fitting into these parking spaces and the area. So we believe there's lots of parking available. Somebody might have to park a block away under big events, maybe, that are going on. But just want to show the board that so you can see where the lots are and how many parking spaces there are. In there. So that's just more of an FYI to you right now.
I do appreciate that. I do think that is, I've heard that too, and it's just like super ridiculous to me because I grew up a block away from the school and it was just fine. No, and plus elementary kids can't drive, so we're not gonna have that problem. I think it'll be just fine.
I think it's more, there's more than adequate parking there. 3 through 6.
It's ample. It's good.
The other thing to let the board know about is that we do in a room back here, we have some old pictures that were removed from some of the buildings. We purposely kept them here in the building. We are gonna have one final due bid. These are pictures that came from places. We also have some statues that we kept from some buildings. They are in the other room. I know you've seen many of these. We would like to make those available to the public and have one last final due bid auction. Most of this is older artwork. We're not talking about stuff from Evelyn or anything like that. This came from all three buildings. I'm not talking about the bronze statues and the bronze sculptures that are going to go out here. You can see where they were, where we've been making the wall strong enough to hold them. So I just want you to know that we'll have one final one. It'll be significantly smaller. We'll probably throw some things on there that we have found that we don't need to see if anyone from the public wants them. The spirals, there are some spiral staircases from Evelyn that we still have. Those will be on that last final one. But it really will be very, very limited as far as what we're able to take out. But it's mostly art, statues, that kind of stuff. We have busts of heads. If you'd like, someone wants to buy a head of someone, we have them. And so just to let the board know that we're planning on one final due bid auction.
I stared at those statues and heads. Every time I walked in the Gilbert School, I know it's,
You know, they might look very nice
Like
in
you
your
had a
front
nightmare
yard.
about.
well, the statues were in the entryway to the high school.
You need to bid on one.
Yeah, and the heads were in the auditorium.
You never know, Bill. I might bid on one and give it to you for a birthday present.
I'll take it. I don't know what I'll do with it.
I don't know why we don't keep some of those things for our school, like the statues or something. They're very, they're historic, they have meaning, they, you know, it's not that they're historic to our schools, our old schools. The statues themselves are of famous philosophers and famous people in our country. I mean, why would we want some of that stuff in our new schools? And I, for one, would.
It's kind of the same reason that Abraham Lincoln isn't staring out there looking at you from Virginia High School. These can also be lightning rods, because these statues we're talking about, they are of Caucasian males.
Oh, please.
I'm telling you, Director Sorkin, this is an issue because you have 15% of your kids are non-Caucasian. And if you are gonna go down that road, you need to put some representative so that whatever statues or figures or whatever you're doing are representative of your actual population on the range right now.
I think that's totally ridiculous. We've got majorities, we've got minorities. If you've got a 13%, do you have to have 13% representation for Native Americans? And we've got, what, 90% or 80%? I mean, come on. So it comes down to some woke reasons, and not just because they're historical figures and pictures and things.
This is nothing,
We don't-
this is Director Sorkin, this has nothing to do with wokeness.
Well, it sure sounds like it.
15% of the range population, if we're gonna do this, they would like to see themselves in the pictures, in the sculptures. They would like to see themselves in the murals.
So let's get some for them.
So,
It's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater, I think. But anyhow, I didn't even go that.
It was
road.
just the history of the schools is
Not
where.
the schools, of our country, of our nation, of our,
yep, the range has changed.
well,
Well, some of them are actually,
Presidents.
well, no, some of them are, from Greece. I mean, some of them are old.
well, yeah, it's just
Yeah, I mean, so
philosophy
it has really no ties to us.
We
The
should-
problem
we should
I see is
appreciate
if you're gonna
history,
keep
no matter
one, you
how-
gotta try to keep them all. And where do you put them? And to put them in the new school would be, I think,
Round peg in a square
would be a
hole.
disgrace. It would,
a disgrace.
Okay, so I kind of get that. They probably don't belong in the new school, but maybe, I don't know what we're talking about. I don't know what the heads look like. I don't know who they are.
Right in there.
Well, I'll have to go look at the heads.
There's two of them.
Hopefully the lights will be on so I don't get
Yes,
scared. But I mean, we do have places in here that we could potentially keep stuff. I don't know. I mean, I don't really know what they are, so it's hard to even judge on that.
I mean, it's automatically assumed that we wouldn't keep any of this stuff. And, why can't we rethink it? We should rethink it and keep some of it.
I'd sell it.
Yeah, I would sell it.
Move it out.
So,
It's been
just
designed.
updating the board on that one. If you want it, I guess buy it. Because we would like all of our kids' history known. And I understand it, I get it, but we just need to do something with it, and the range is not the range what it was 100 years ago. Enough on that. In addition, I just want to update you very, very quickly on, hey, school is starting. We had the pairs were in for training. You heard from Bob talking about the bus drivers were in for mandatory training. Teachers are coming tomorrow. They're all meeting in the high school, and then they have various workshops scheduled. So we have all the schedules ready, the principals are ready. The teachers, give them a couple days to settle in and straighten out. They'll be ready to go. And it is showtime and go time, starting not Tuesday, right after Labor Day. So we're ready, we're excited, and just want to let the board know that school is here. The fun time is about to start. And that's all the things that I have to update the board on.
That was a quick summer.
Yeah.
Lightning quick.
lightning,
I
that's
agree.
what he,
Very nice summer.
And I have to say, I was at the North Star opening, and that went beautifully. And I heard so many positive. I saw Brandy was there too. I don't know what
Tim was there.
I didn't have the pleasure of running into Tim, but
Thanks. You weren't looking for me.
you know what, I was looking at the school, and the kids were just so excited. It looks beautiful. There's a lot of great buzz, and it was nice to see how the teachers had set up their classrooms, and I thought they looked terrific. So I'm just excited for the new and positive feedback and school year. I'm excited for that.
I'm sorry, I couldn't be there. I was out of town, but I would have been there if I was around.
And I was out of town as well.
Excuses.
You know, I'm all about free cookies.
I definitely got the free cookies,
And you know
that's
that
for sure.
something was seriously wrong when Bill couldn't make it there.
And members of the board, I know you heard a lot about Scott Manny. I want to let you know that Stacy Lampa, sitting over there trying to be very quiet, taking minutes. She does a fantastic job behind the scene, getting programs ready, getting everything ready. Deb Worry was there that night, but I want you to know Stacy is incredible behind the scenes. She really could do anything she wants to do. She's that good. She's really good. So give credit to Stacy. When you get home, we didn't clap for Josh when he left.
Hey, remember that contract time, Stacy?
It really was. You did an excellent job, and you always do well on the cookies. I know you don't make them, but
And
they were awesome.
And we also had Debbie Worry was there and the new special ed answering questions.
Stephanie.
So everybody was all on board, almost. So.
The kids made a beeline for the ninja room down there.
And the slide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was almost as popular with adults as it was with some of the kids.
Well, I was holding Brandy back. She wanted to keep going down it again.
Right.
That's it, members of the board.
All righty, move on to 5.7. Can I get a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Support.
By Reardon, support by Yuhan. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 6.1, consider a transfer of Chris Chad, secondary teacher, to the dean of students.
I will make that motion.
Happily
Motion by
support that.
Lotiger, support by Yuhan. Any discussion?
I think this is a great spot for him. I
Absolutely.
think he'll do wonderful there.
I love the letter.
He makes great relationships with kids.
So a question, Chris taught math. Where were we in that math situation if he were to become the dean?
Mark Winter is working on several different scenarios to see what happened, because we have some math sections, we have some STEAM sections to cover, and I don't think we have 100% solutions for those yet, but he's working on a couple of different options right now.
Might that be an additional hiring, additional employee, or higher class sizes?
It's a shift. But yes, you will have names coming to you, I believe, at the next board meeting
So are you saying then
to cover
that
those sections.
that doesn't mean, that doesn't leave an opening that we have to fill by hiring somebody? It's going to be shifting people?
You've done the shift, if you approve this, and then you will have to hire someone to cover what he was going to teach.
Okay, so
Yes.
that is an additional budget item.
Yes, however, what's gonna happen is, because Todd is working on third-party billing, I strongly believe you are gonna get well to cover this shifting going on right now. I believe that Todd will be able to get that for you.
And this position also has an effect of, and I've been trying to talk about it and have the board discussion about it, by the reassignment of Todd into some of these positions, which actually, now that you've just explained, will leave a hole and an additional revenue thing that we'll have to fill with another person, because he was full-time, Chris is full-time. And I see a lot of, with your unilateral assignment of Todd into multiple different positions when he's an assistant principal, and I'm not even sure that part of it, like the third-party billing, is really
It's
an
just a-
administrative, listen, excuse me, is an administrative,
This is about,
this has an effect.
it's about Chris Chad. This has
I know,
nothing
but
to do with,
When you move a marble here.
you're off topic.
No, I'm not off topic.
Yes, you
because
are. You're
this
talking
has a-
about another employee.
This has a direct effect on our budget and on the position, the person who is in this position is moved. So we're doing additions here, just by checkerboard moves. And that-
Sure. And Polly's correct that there's
Yeah.
is an addition, and we'll probably see more because we're pulling away from the NLC and we're starting a new program. As our Superintendent Schmidt said, as the thing grows, so will some of our needs. So we made the decision to pull away because now we can access more money and we can save more money and pay for the program ourselves and keep our kids here. So that's
Well,
all I have.
We don't know that, but again, the unilateral.
Well, wait a
reassignment-
minute, Director Sorkin, we do know that.
Ooh, the kids are gonna stay here. We're not gonna be playing the NLC for the kids.
We don't know that, because some kids could choose and their parents to stay at the NLC for the special ed part of it. We don't know that we're gonna get all of our kids back.
You told me that you wanted to leave the service co-op, not the service co-op, the NLC, which is okay, you made a decision. So my job is to implement and do what needs to be done, and that's what I'm doing.
I know, but Tim said that we're gonna get more money from that because we're gonna retain our kids, and that might not necessarily happen.
Well,
Hope it does, so we don't lose
well,
them.
you know what?
Can't make a
Making
statement
making blanket statements on the other side may not happen either, so. And we
We need
should
to stay
should
focused on
probably
what we're
all
voting on.
stop
That's right.
making blanket statements because the public hears it and then takes it as fact.
So we got a motion for 6.1 by Director Lodger, support by you, Han.
Any more discussion?
Any more discussion?
I-
But
I-
make it brief.
I'd just like to know, and I would like to know personally, if every one of we board members approve of the reassignment of our former assistant principal and our former
That's
principal.
not
was
part of the
already- that
discussion
was on
right now.
last-
That's not what we're voting on.
Well,
That was already voted on
It's
last
off the
meeting.
agenda.
if we feel this
What we
position,
are supposed to
if
be
we
doing,
feel
and
this
it's
position,
voting
there's no
on Chris
position
Chad's
for
position.
him. If we fill this position, the position that he held
I
last
call for
year,
the vote.
you can't.
I'm
call
not
for the
even
question.
sure it was on the last.
Okay.
If we fill this position, that means there's not a
Molly.
position for him and he automatically is
You call
reassigned.
for the vote, I'll second it, we can vote on it, and it needs to
Okay,
be 60.
Call the question
I
and a
did.
second.
A
And a
from
second
Tim.
and a vote. And you need 3/4 here.
Don't we
Three-
vote on the
3/5.
call?
We could vote on the call first.
All those for call the question, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No,
No.
No.
you don't have 3/5.
Four.
So you don't have 3/5.
That didn't make it, so we have to continue discussing
The call.
the dean. The call did not make it, so.
That's right.
3 to 4.
It's still open
Yeah,
for
it's gotta be-
discussion.
It's gotta be,
3/5.
I'd just like Polly to finish what she was saying and then,
okay.
I think that's important to just have that discussion.
Yeah, but this is.
It's not on topic.
It's not on
It
topic.
has-
It is.
Oh, she wants to
Noel actually brought up Todd. And-
No,
Yeah, he
Yes, he
did.
did. He just
Yeah, he did.
Okay, again,
He
you know,
said because Todd's moved.
right.
Correct.
But we're not talking about Todd, we're talking about the transfer of Chris Chad.
but it
Into
has a,
Todd's
But
old
she's just
position.
asking questions,
it
just
has,
let her finish her.
it has a ricochet effect. If we fill this, that means that
We'll ask
his,
them question 2 weeks from now anyways.
what's that?
Yeah, you just-
I thought we voted on
Every two-
Todd's.
yeah, Same
So,
time, same
it's-
question.
Todd's position was an assistant principal position. This
never
is a
gonna
dean of
fit.
students.
I know, but this is taking the assistant principal's
true. That's
position
true.
and turning it into a dean of students. So in other words, we've eliminated an assistant principal and we've actually created, without any job descriptions, how can we do that? We've assigned Todd to multiple things without job descriptions, and there's 3 or 4 of them. I don't know, every time I ask, there's something
Completely
else.
off topic.
Okay, I do believe that that is a separate thing.
Okay,
than that.
but it's replacing that, and then if we do this, then the board should have a discussion of whether we want to reassign Todd that way, the board, and if we don't, then
Has a right
this should
to
not be
assignment.
filled, because that may be the board wouldn't, to see the assignment.
We should just
The
make a
the
desk in high school.
superintendent recommends, but the board,
Desk in the high school, just, we don't need administrators, we don't need, we'll just make all the decisions.
that's not the point. The
It is your
board-
point. Micromanage everything, that's your
Can we,
point.
I don't think we need to argue.
vote, please?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, that's the code of ethics of making disparaging remarks about your fellow board members
Not
inside
enough.
and outside of the
It's
board
the same,
meeting.
it's the same thing every, yeah, it's the same question, 2 weeks in a row about different
Because
things.
we didn't address it. We've never
We did
discussed
not.
it and
We
made a
did not
decision
address
as
I'm
a
not talking about
board.
this, I'm talking about other topics that you,
And
same
when I
questions
do
as we
that-
had 2 weeks ago.
When I do that, it's
Hey, hey,
because the board has not made the decision.
I
Okay,
forgot.
we're gonna, all those in favor of 6.1 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 6-1. Moving on.
Were these posted and advertised? Just an afterthought. Was this position posted and advertised?
6.2.
Internally
6.2.
or externally?
We're moving on. The vote's been
I'll
cast.
ask Noel
We're
later.
moving on. The vote's been cast. You can have that discussion after the meeting, Polly.
You know, you got rules for thee and rules
Polly,
for
Polly,
me.
stop, please. Okay, 6.2, consider approval of facilities use agreement between the city of Virginia and in the Rockridge School
I'll make
District.
the motion.
We got a motion by
Support.
McCarver-Dahl, support by Lotiger. Any discussion?
Question. Can we commit and guarantee to 350 hours, 375, or full commitment to those hours? And if they're unused, do we get a refund or a credit?
I do believe that's written into the contract, that unused hours will be paid back to us, as it was with Evelyn and Virginia.
Okay, can you kind of show me where that is?
No, why don't you look it up? I don't need to
You
do your
said it's
work.
there and I don't know where it is.
It's there.
It's there,
I do remember us talking about that.
Okay,
yes.
all right, that was my
Okay.
question.
All those in favor, or any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 6-1. Approval, 6.3, consider approval of child and adult care food program contract for vended meals for the 2024-2025 school year. Need a motion for that?
The motion.
Motion by
Support.
Huon, support by Lotiger. Any discussion?
It's been discussed, Bill, I think you brought this forward, but in the future, maybe we should start a study as to whether we want to.
I completely agree.
Well,
and
well,
that's-
I'd like to finish my sentence so people know what I'm talking about. I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
But maybe this board for the rest of this year and maybe the new board should do some kind of a study about supplying our own resources and or what. It may be cheaper this way, it may be more effective, it may not be, but it's not a bad thing to investigate.
I agree.
Me too. I mean, I've been, yeah.
So who could we have, do a study? Who's gonna do the study?
Leave it up to the administration and,
It's already in your strategic plan. You've already approved studying this, so you don't have to do anything. We're going to do it naturally as a part of taking a look at, can we do it? How much does it cost now? Other vendors, so it's going to come up this year anyway.
And for budget purposes?
Yep, it could have an impact on the budget, absolutely.
Okay.
okay, we got a motion by Director Huon, support by Lotiger. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 6.4, there was a piece of paper in front of you that was brought to you at the beginning of the table. Director Huon put it at 6.4. Even though I am paying for something, I will abstain from the vote.
Make a motion to approve 6.4.
Motion by Huon, support by Lotiger. Any discussion?
Nothing against you, Bill, but you know what I would say, if ever anybody else might have known that that flag in the flagpole was available. In your letter, you said no one has requested it yet,
No?
but it really wasn't put out there that we might be selling it or giving it away to anybody, and I'm consistent on this, that anybody else might have, if anybody else might have wanted that, that they now don't have the opportunity to say, yes, I'm interested in it also. Nothing personal, you know that.
No, I get it. I've been dealing with the Buildings and Grounds Director for over a year. And I said, anybody requested it? No. Anybody requested it? It's the 11th and a half hour. That piece of property will be ready for the public to walk on with the fences all gone by Thursday or Friday.
Well, if that's the
Okay.
case, maybe we should have advertised for over a year, that would
I think
be
it's been
helpful.
pretty consistent that
Yep.
we've had do bid auctions, we've had people contact us about different things that weren't in the do bid auction, that were just flag poles in Gilbert, whatever the case may be,
Bases,
we've been pretty consistent on all of it,
scoreboards.
so.
Well, that's how I feel, and maybe it should have been on do bid like some of the other stuff, so. That's all, I just hope there's other people out there that said, well, I would have liked that flagpole, and yeah, it's 11th hour, but now it's come up, nobody knew before now, so that's all I have to say.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
What is the vote? It's,
Abstain.
so it's 5,
5 with 2 abstentions.
yes, 5 and 2 abstentions. Okay. Thank you. 7.1, next meeting announcement, September 9, 6 o'clock here at the building. Number 8, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Colbert-Dahl.
Yep.
Support by Reardon.
Enjoy the school year.
Yeah, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion passes unanimously. Good night, everybody.